Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Wow, what a big, huge day in the true crime world and for four families in out of Idaho. So I'm sure you all have heard by now, because I'm definitely not the first person to drop any kind of news, that a suspect was arrested this morning in the Idaho for unalivings. So I'm going to get into that, but before I do, I'm going to pull up today's missing persons poster, and I'm actually going to feature a second poster today because the first one's out of Orlando, and there's another one I'm going to show you guys as well that I previously covered on the channel. So let me pull that up. This missing person is, again, she's actually out of Winter Garden in Orlando. And this is my area of town. I live in Orange County, Florida. Her name is Marisia Burton. She's 19 years old, is 5'6", 130 pounds, brown eyes, and black hair. She was last seen Thursday, 12/22, so she was seen a week ago in Orlando. It looks like Winter Garden at Flamingo Crossings at East Apartments. States if you have any information regarding her whereabouts or if you have spotted her, please call the Osceola County Sheriff's Department at 407-254-7464 or 407-836-4357. Again, this is Marisia Burton out of the Orlando, Florida area, and I'm going to see if I can find out some more information on her, see if I can reach out and do a video on her as separately this weekend if possible. So, but please, if you have any information on her, please do contact the authorities. Okay, and let me pull up the second one real quick and you will understand exactly why I'm putting this one on here as well. So this is another missing out of the Orlando area, and I have covered him on the channel before, and I'm hoping to finally get with some of his family this long holiday weekend. This is Bryan Vladek Hasel. He's been missing, man, he's been missing for over a year, you guys. He was last seen on November 15th of 2021. 23 years old. He's from East Orlando. This is near UCF. So if any of you guys are familiar with the University of Central Florida, that's the side of town he was living and he was last seen on. White male, 5'8", 210 pounds, blue eyes and blonde hair. Bryan Vladek was last seen near the place at Alafaya in Orlando on November 15th of 2021. Bryan Vladek has been living with his father near the UCF campus, but has not been in contact with his family since November 5th. 2021. His father had gone out of town, and when he returned, there was no sign of Bryan Vladek, who had no access to a vehicle and left his phone behind. He is known to frequent businesses in the UCF Waterford University Boulevard area. So if you have any information on Bryan Vladek Hasel, please contact the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, and their phone number again is 407-254-7000, or you can always call 911. Again, this is another one out of Orlando, as well as the previous one I just showed. So if you are in the Central Florida area, please do keep a lookout for these missing individuals. So this is News Nation. And everyone is covering the story. So I'm going to kind of go through a few things, and there's not a lot we know yet, but because of all the possibilities on the internet, I've been able to find out some things in the last few hours. So a suspect was arrested this morning in Pennsylvania regarding the unalivings of the 4 University of Idaho students last month. So let's check out what News Nation's article has to say real quick. A suspect was arrested Friday morning in connection with the brutal November stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 28, was arrested in the early hours of Friday in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, where he is being held while awaiting extradition. His detainment is based on an active arrest warrant from Vladek County, Idaho, where he faces 4 counts of first-degree unaliving and a felony burglary charge in connection with a November unalivings. Court records show he is scheduled for an extradition hearing on Tuesday. So that's going to be Tuesday, January 3rd. So this is going to be then the first, basically probably the first business of the new year, because I'm not sure that they do business on Monday, the 2nd. On November 13th, okay, that's just going over the history of the case, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. All right, a little bit about him. I do have some other information, so I'll see what News Nation's got here. Latta County Prosecutor Bill Thompson said the factual basis for Kohberger's charges is laid out in the probable cause affidavit, which under state law must remain sealed until Kohberger is extradited to Latta County and officially served the warrant. So there was a press conference today. It was at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and they laid that out. So I'm going to also go through that. Yeah, until at least Tuesday, we're not going to know anything that's in that probable cause affidavit. But here is his booking photo. And as we can see, he's wearing the suicide vest or what have you. I don't know. I'm kind of getting Jeffrey Dahmer vibes off of him. What do you guys think? The mysterious circumstances surrounding the 4 deaths sparked fear in the small community and nationwide interest from true crime enthusiasts and internet sleuths. Moscow Police Chief James Fry said Friday during a news conference that his department had combed through 19,000 tips and interviewed 300 people over the course of their investigation. So I looked at today. This would be day 47 since the unalivings on November 13th, and it's a good thing that they got a suspect before the end of the year. I applaud Moscow PD and their entire team with the state police and FBI for all their hard work on this case, and obviously they are nowhere near done. While police have not yet found the weapon used in the stabbings, Fry said they located a Hyundai Elantra that had previously been named a vehicle of interest in the case, which led to police examining 22,000 cars with similar descriptions through their investigation. Officials asked that people continue to use the tip line to provide tips now that a suspect has been named. So, obviously, now that we know who this guy is, people may have some ideas about him. They may know him. They may have been around him. Please call in those tips if you got them. Let's see. Police said Kohberger had an apartment in Pullman, Washington, where he is a PhD student in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University. The town is about 10 miles away across state lines from Moscow. So he's really not that far away from the University of Idaho. So I guess it's a hop, skip, and a jump in his little Elantra. And some reason he decided to go over to Moscow for whatever reason. Hopefully we'll find that out soon. Court records reveal Kohberger had received a minor traffic violation in August in Latta County, where Moscow is located. He paid a fine for that violation in September. I believe it was for a seatbelt, from what I read. While there is no known connection between that violation and the November unalivings, it indicates Kohberger had visited the county in the past. So, goes to show, he knows the area. As far as how much he knows the area, well, I guess that remains to be seen. Friday, cleaning crews were at the Moscow home where they were scheduled to clean up the home and remove furniture. Crews were in place and a tarp was set up to block the view of crew activities from the public. However, Friday morning, News Nation saw that the work was abruptly stopped at the home soon after news broke of Kohberger's arrest. Fry said in the news conference that house cleanup has been halted, and that came by a legal request from the court. So let's see Brian Enton's little video here. from when the cleanup was supposedly started.
We can break the other top across the other side, and then we can sand down with it.
I'm not so sure that's a job I'd want. Cleaning up crime scenes. Yeah, I think I'll pass on that job opportunity. But thanks to Brian Ensign for that video, and he's got plenty of other great updates today because obviously he's back out there. Gonzalez, Mogan, and Kernoodle were roommates, and Chapin was in a relationship with Kernoodle at the time of their deaths. All four died from stab wounds and were likely asleep at the time of the attacks, according to the preliminary findings by a county coroner. They were saying, police said there were no signs of forced entry when they arrived to find a bloody and gruesome scene. So that's their article here, and let me pull up the presser from today, in case you missed it. We will check that out. So this is the press conference. I'm going to play it all the way through until they get to the Q&A, because honestly, they didn't really answer anything. But I'm going to include the link as well to the official press conference on YouTube, so you can check it out if you missed it. Again, they're not going to really answer too much until at least he makes his first appearance on Tuesday, January 3rd, if even that soon. So, all right, let's check it out.
Thank you for coming today. Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zana, Madison, and Kaylee. I want to personally thank these agencies for their assistance in this case. Kohberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University. We will provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohberger has his initial appearance in Idaho court. I want to express my appreciation to our local community, the people of Idaho, and those throughout our nation who provided information to help us investigate these murders has been very impressive. We've received over 19,000 tips, and we've conducted over 300 interviews. To recap this case, on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at about 1:56 a.m. after visiting a local bar and street food vendor. Ethan and Zana were at the Sigma Chi house before arriving home around 1:45 a.m. The two surviving roommates had also been in the community but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m., reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. On November 17th, autopsies were conducted, and the Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 victims. The cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing. Some had defensive wounds, and each had been stabbed multiple times. These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. This was a very complex and extensive case. We developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done, but be assured the work is not done. This has just started. Since November, we have remained laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. I recognize the frustration with the lack of information that's been released. However, providing any details in this criminal investigation might have tainted the upcoming criminal prosecution or alerted the suspect of our progress. We will continue to provide as much information as we can as the process moves forward. Today, I want to specifically thank our dedicated Moscow Police Department detectives, patrol officers, the Idaho State detectives, the Idaho State troopers, and their crime lab technicians and scientists, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the resources and personnel to conduct this massive investigation. It was the dedication of them and the persistence and the numerous hours that led to an arrest. Fortunately, these highly skilled people worked together as a cohesive team to solve this case. I also want to thank our community and the nation. Over the past 6 weeks, I've been continually reminded of how much our community cares. Locally, public support has been exceptional with kind words, food for investigators, and letters of support. You will never know how much your words of encouragement help us through these trying times. I appreciate each of you and each of your kindness. Agencies and individuals from across the nation have reached out to us to express their support to this department. I'm reminded how our Moscow community, our families, and the nation has been impacted by this daily. Finally, I do want to thank our media partners for the help. You kept this in the news. You helped us with tips. You kept things going, and we truly appreciate that. And you are the product of those 19,000 tips that we received, which is an impressive number. I would like to invite Bill Thompson, the county prosecutor, up at this time.
Real quick before the prosecutor speaks, I really applaud Chief Fry. And didn't he seem real emotional there, you guys? I honestly believe that this chief was doing everything he could possible, and obviously this was their case, but they took on the help that was offered, and I think there was plenty of people out there, not everyone, but there was a number of folks on social that were slamming this department. And I think that they were doing a really good job. And no, they haven't had a lot of unalivings in their town, in their area. But I think they did a good job. They took the case over, and they got the right people in there to help them. They had the FBI, they had behavioral analysis, analysts, and they did exactly what they needed to do. And I applaud them, and I think that they had done an excellent job, in my opinion. But all right, let's see what the prosecutor has to say.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time. As Chief Fry indicated, a criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder in addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. Mr. Kohberger, and let me preface, there is a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all of the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can. As far as Mr. Kohberger, I can share with you that he is a graduate student at Washington State University and has an apartment residence over at Pullman. He has had an initial appearance in front of a judge in Pennsylvania. He is being held without bond, and the warrant from our magistrate judge here also provides for no bond. We understand that he's scheduled to be back in court in Pennsylvania next Tuesday afternoon, and that a public defender has been appointed for him there. The process at this point is, since he was arrested in another state, he has the opportunity to either waive extradition and return voluntarily to the state of Idaho, or if he prefers not to waive extradition, then we will initiate extradition proceedings through our governor's office. If we do that, it can take a while for him to get here. So again, I'm asking for your patience and understand that's just the way the system works. Once he gets here, he'll have an initial appearance with our magistrate. They'll deal with issues such as making sure competent counsel is representing him, and the case will be scheduled for further hearings. Your primary source of factual information is going to be the court record, because that's what the Supreme Court says we need to refer you to. So please pay attention to what's going on in court and have people there to watch and hear what's being said. As an attorney, myself and my office, we are limited on what we are allowed by the courts to say outside of the courtroom. So please just work with us. Finally, as the chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning. Y'all now know the name of the person who has been charged with these offenses. Please get that information out there. Please ask the public, anyone who knows about this individual, to come forward, call the tip line, report anything you know about him to help the investigators and eventually our office and the court system understand fully everything there is to know about not only the individual, but what happened and why. Next, I'll introduce Colonel Ked Wells from the Idaho State Police. Thank you.
I like this prosecutor. Doesn't he kind of remind you of Santa Claus? I think he's giving the best gift, him and the team there. Giving the best gift to this family. They got the suspect, and he's going to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. And I really do hope this guy doesn't fight his extradition and he gets his butt back into Idaho so they can start the process.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police and certainly want to express our appreciation for your attendance here today. These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. Nothing we do can bring them back. The only thing that we can do in law enforcement to honor their memories that we know of is to bring this to a successful conclusion. This has been a very difficult time for the families, the university, the community, and the state of Idaho. However, it is also proven that communities come together in tough times. Certainly appreciate the support of the local community and our national audience that has been following us as our investigators have worked through this case. I'm thankful also to you, the media partners, who have helped keep this case in the forefront that generates the tips and continues, we hope will continue to generate information that will help us to a conclusion of this proceeding. I'd like to express our appreciation on behalf of the Idaho State Police to Chief Fry, his leadership, and the entire Moscow Police Department for the way that they handled this from the very beginning. He directed the right people to the right positions that led us to this conclusion today. I've had the utmost confidence in this investigation and in Chief Fry, as well as in Mr. Bill Thompson and the Latah County Prosecutor's Office, who've been a great partner throughout this. Nothing has deterred the commitment of the investigators who've worked on this case, regardless of the organization they represent. It's been very trying and very difficult, as you know, that it has been on those investigators as they do the tedious work that they're so good at doing. The partnerships is what's led here as well. The partnerships between Moscow Police Department, I'd like to express our appreciation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, specifically the special agent in charge out of the Salt Lake City Division, Dennis Rice, and also the work that happened in the last 24 hours in Pennsylvania with the arrest with the Pennsylvania State Police and Colonel Evanchik with the Pennsylvania State Police. We appreciate what they've done across the nation to help us as well. As Bill shared, this investigation is far from over. In fact, I appreciate what he shared, that this is not an ending, but rather a new beginning. The difference now is, as he shared, that we are dictated what information we can share by the court process and by laws in our state of Idaho. And so we will share, as he shared, Mr. Thompson is absolutely committed to share everything he can share through the court process. We've got to make sure that we don't get in front of that process. And we really deeply appreciate everybody's support here. The relationships that were forged here and the partnerships that were forged have led to this. And based on that is why we're here today. And we continue to believe that the best way we can honor these 4 lives that have been taken is to make sure that we have a successful outcome here. One of the partnerships that's been forged throughout this is a partnership with the University of Idaho. And on that, I'd like to introduce the president of the University of Idaho, Mr. Scott Green.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Scott Green, President of University of Idaho. Today's news and arrest is a welcome one. It's relief to our university, our community, and our extended Vandal family. The outpouring of support over the past 6 weeks helped sustain us during the most trying time. It provided the strength that helped us navigate the international scrutiny visited on our students and employees. We are truly thankful for the compassion and acts of kindness shown to our community. Kindness is contagious, and it provided the light that reclaimed ground lost to evil and darkness. We first want to acknowledge and thank Governor Little for the early promise of financial support that enabled the university to secure our campus and focus on helping our students and our employees in the wake of the crimes. We also appreciate the Idaho State Police and the highly visible security presence that brought comfort and calm to a community shocked and confused by the senseless crimes. We never lost faith that this case would be solved and are grateful for the hard work of the Moscow Police Department and their law enforcement partners. Vast and committed FBI resources brought important expertise to this complex case. Across the board, dedicated, highly competent personnel worked this case to arrest. This crime has nevertheless left a mark on our university, our community, and our state. While we cannot bring back Maddie, Kaylee, Zaina, and Ethan, we can thoughtfully and purposefully carry their legacy forward in the work that we do. Our students come first, and that was proven each and every day of this investigation. We are committed to safely delivering the college town atmosphere, campus experience, and high-touch quality education for which the University of Idaho is known. With time, we will heal. We will move forward together, and we will remain Vandal strong. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Fry.
So now we will open the floor to questions. However, I want to remind everyone, as Prosecutor Bill Thompson explained, Any factual information regarding the arrest of Kohberger is currently sealed per Idaho law and will not be released until he has appeared in an Idaho court. Please formulate your questions accordingly. I recognize there are a lot of questions, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can.
All right. So, like I said, there's a question and answer portion here for the remainder, about 9 or so minutes there. So you're more than welcome to pull that up, and I will again add the link to the video information. But most of it they don't answer because it's all stuff that they can't answer, at least until next week. But again, I wanted to applaud Moscow PD and all the law enforcement, the prosecutor's office over there, and the university. I think that they have done a great job. I'm one that really has thought they've done a good job. And I never, ever thought it was a cold case. I have no idea where that even came from. This happened 6 weeks ago. You're talking 47 days ago. It's a brutal crime, a brutal attack on 4 innocent young people. And while we would all like a case to be solved as quickly as an episode of Law and Order, that's just not the way things work. So realistically, it takes time. And I think they've gotten a suspect in custody by the end of the year before the kids, all the students go back. And I applaud every single one of them for their hard work and their continued work. And of course, my condolences continue to go out to the families. But let me go over a bit more stuff that I do have on Bryan Kohberger. And of course, I'm always open to you guys' comments and thoughts in the comments. So please always leave them in there as long as you're respectful. I'm always open to opinions. So let me pull up the bit that we do know about him. So this is a bit on him. I didn't get a chance to make a lot of slides because this was so quick and I was working. But there's a bit here, and I'm going to go over what I was able to find also online because there are some docs that were released, just not the probable cause affidavit. It is hard to read, and I apologize. The font is not very big. So this is Bryan Kohberger, and I kept putting an L after between the Co and the burger, but it's no L. He was arrested Friday, so he's arrested this morning in Pennsylvania on an active arrest warrant for the unalivings in first degree in connection with the killings of 4 University of Idaho students last month. A criminal complaint charging Kohberger with 4 counts of unaliving in the first degree, as well as felony burglary, were filed on Thursday. Vladek County Prosecutor Bill Thompson said in a news conference Friday afternoon, which we just heard him say. A criminal complaint charging Kohberger with 4 counts of unaliving in the first degree, as well as felony burglary. I'm sorry, I don't know why I put that twice. I apologize. Okay. Kohberger was cited to have studied at Northampton Community College in 2018, where he was part of a fraternity that focused on psychology. Another interesting tidbit. He was also cited to be a PhD student at Washington State University, studying in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. Okay, so this is a CNN article that I've been kind of sifting through, finding out who's got some more info. Okay, so this is CNN, and I'll be including the link to it so you can check it out for yourself, because I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of go through it here. Okay, here we go. Authorities narrowed their focus to Kohberger after tracing his ownership of a white Hyundai Elantra seen in the area of the unalivings, according to 2 law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation. Kohberger's DNA has also been matched to genetic material recovered at the off-campus house where the students were stabbed to death, according to sources. So if they legitimately have DNA, according to the sources that CNN has, that's big. Authorities learned the suspect had left the area and went to Pennsylvania. So I'm guessing they tracked the car and they had genetic DNA, and that led them to his parents' house. An FBI surveillance team from the Philadelphia field office had been tracking him for 4 days in the area where he was arrested, according to the sources. While he was being watched, investigators from the Moscow Police Department, the Idaho State Police Homicide Bureau, and the FBI worked with prosecutors to develop sufficient probable cause to obtain the warrant. Once the arrest warrant was issued, the Pennsylvania State Police and the FBI made the arrest. I like the idea that they had to wake him up this morning really early and scare him half to death and arrest him. That's sort of like woke his sorry butt up, huh? Moscow Police Department Chief James Fry said at the news conference an Elantra has been located, but investigators are still looking for the knife used in the unalivings. He didn't reveal any details about the case, including when the suspect became the focus of the investigation or whether he knew the 4 students who were unalived. Honestly, that's my biggest question right now. What connection does he have to the students? Now, so far, only thing that I've been able to see is that he followed Maddie and Kaylee online on Instagram. So, was he a stalker? Was that legitimately a stalker situation that Kaylee was speaking of? Maybe there's something to that after all. These unalivings have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students, Fry said. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. Fry said it was a very complex, extensive case. We developed a clear picture over time, he said, but be assured that the work is not done. This has just started. Yeah, it's the same thing as with Delphi. They found the suspect, but there's so much to be done. They have to make sure, like I said, all their I's are dotted, their T's are crossed. All that is taken care of. They need to make sure that their case is ironclad and they have everything they need to prove to a jury that he is the guy. And we don't even know if he acted alone. That hasn't been confirmed yet either. Did he act alone? Did he do this attack on his own, or did he have someone or some folks with him? That's another question. But of course, my biggest thing is, what is his connection to the 4 students? Again, they want everybody to keep calling if you've got any information to the tip line. After the suspect returns to Idaho, the probable cause affidavit used to obtain the arrest warrant will be unsealed. So again, if Tuesday he doesn't fight the extradition, they'll probably bring him over here, and hopefully next week that'll be unsealed, which will definitely show us a lot more information. I'm just hoping and I'm crossing my fingers that they do not seal the probable cause affidavit. That always seems to be a thing in these big cases. Like Delphi was big on that one. They sealed it and it became a huge thing to get it unsealed and just redacted. Records show Kohberger was arraigned Friday morning in Pennsylvania, and he has a court hearing on extradition January 3rd. Thompson said the suspect is being held without bail, and he is being represented while in Pennsylvania by a public defender. Because the suspect was arrested in Pennsylvania, he has the opportunity to waive extradition and return to Idaho voluntarily. If he chooses not to return voluntarily, Moscow police will initiate extradition proceedings through the governor's office, Fry said. If we do that, it can take a while for him to get here, he said. I think of the whole Cassie Carley case. You guys remember that her ex, Marcus Spanavello, he fought extradition. And that took a long time. It took a while for them to extradite him. So if he fights it, we could be waiting a while. And I mean, not just us, but these families. That's really who's waiting, law enforcement and these families. Because they want this guy in Idaho. They want him locked up in Idaho jail. Let's see. Okay. A student at Washington State University told CNN Kohberger is a graduate student studying criminal justice. Officials at the school haven't responded to CNN's request for comment. I'm going to assume they probably won't say much per their attorneys. A CNN team in Pullman, which is only 7 miles from Moscow, saw law enforcement activity at an apartment complex where graduate students live. In a post removed from Reddit after Kohberger's arrest, was made public. A student investigator associated with DeSales University study named Bryan Kohberger sought participation in a research project to, quote, understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. Yeah, I'm going to put that up on the screen right here because I got some screenshots of it before it was removed as well. In particular, the study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience, the post said. How creepy is that? One of the principal investigators of the study, a professor at DeSales University in Pennsylvania, declined to comment on the matter. That's probably smart. I don't think I'd want to comment on it either. Study looked really odd to me. And of course, it's more odd now that he's accused. We have to say accused of this horrific crime, these unalivings of these 4 students. The suspect also graduated from Northampton Community College with an associate's degree in arts and psychology in 2018, a spokesman for the school in Pennsylvania said. Let's see. The November 13th unalivings riveted the nation and struck a small town. Okay, we don't need to read that. Okay, so that's pretty much the new stuff off of this one here from CNN. So this one here is from heavy.com. I don't know, I've kind of become fond of them. They seem to find out all kinds of stuff about people pretty quickly. So this one here is telling you five fast facts about Bryan Kohberger, the suspect in the unalivings. And there's another photo of him for the information that we know. I believe Brian Enton was one of the first to post his mugshot. So there's Brian Enton's tweet with the mugshot of Bryan Kohberger. How weird is it, though? I know it's just odd. I love Brian Enton, you guys. Of course, you guys should know that by now. But how odd is it? It's just weird coincidence or whatever that poor Brian Enton, News Daddy, he covered the whole Gabby Petito and Brian laundry case, and that's one Brian besides himself, and now they have another Brian. A bit it's spelled differently, but you know, Brian Enton apparently is one of the best Brians, and some of these other guys I don't know. So we need more good Brians out there, like Brian Enton. All right, whoops. Okay, now we're talking about how he's waiting extradition. Okay, according to the WSU website, Kohberger is pursuing his PhD in criminal justice and criminology. So he knows a lot about criminal law and criminal justice, yet he left his genetic DNA behind. So remember what we said, you can't go somewhere and not leave something behind. And he obviously left some of himself behind. Even he couldn't get through that CSI portion and all that. As a psychology student at DeSales University in Pennsylvania, he was a student investigator for a survey that explored people's actions, thoughts, and feelings when they committed crimes. Yeah, we just discussed that on the CNN article. There's the 4 students there. All right, here's the 5 fast facts. Kohberger, whose DNA matched DNA at the crime scene, had a quiet, blank stare when he was taken into custody near the Pocono Mountains, reports say. So there's a picture of him. I don't know. Seriously, are y'all getting Dahmer vibes off of this guy? Because I'm getting Dahmer vibes off of him for sure. When Kohberger was arrested, he, quote, asked if anyone else was arrested, unquote, Enton wrote in a tweet, adding, quote, I'm told he had a quiet blank stare, unquote. Police declined to say when asked in the news conference whether Kohberger made the first comment. Yeah, we're not going to know that right away. According to CNN, citing sources, authorities discovered that Kohberger owned a white Hyundai Elantra. Okay, there's that CNN information that we just talked about. Okay, court records obtained by Heavy for the Court of Common Pleas of Monroe County shows the extradition was filed December 30th, 2022 against Bryan Christopher Kohberger the same day as the arrest. The suspect was being held at a county correctional facility with a destination location given as Monroe County Prison. His city is listed as Albertsville, Pennsylvania, and the document says Bryan Kohberger under alias. No bail information was listed. So I've got that larger. I'm going to pop that on the screen right here. But that's the doc from the Monroe County, the court extradition doc. NBC Philadelphia reported that Kohberger was taken into custody near the Pocono Mountains, which we know. Okay, number 2, Kohberger, whose mother, Mary Ann, wrote a letter to the newspaper about the Uvalde shooting, once gave his favorite quote as a line from Aristotle and was described as very OCD with weird dietary restrictions. Okay, Dexter. Looks like a favorite memory or quote says here. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle. Alrighty then. Mary Ann Kohberger, who is Kohberger's mother, according to public records obtained by Heavy, wrote a letter to the editor about the Uvalde, Texas mass shooting at an elementary school that was headlined, "I pray we consider the children before the gun." In the June 2nd, 2022 letter to the Pocono Record, Mary Ann Kohberger wrote, "As I sat this morning reeling from another school shooting, I found myself wrestling with which actions need to be taken to stop all the madness. What's the answer? Gun control measures, mental health intervention?" In the letter, she revealed that her daughter worked as a mental health therapist in New Jersey who shared a poem she wrote about the Uvalde massacre. So now we learn that he at least has one sister. Bereft of their laughter, there is now not a sound. As we lower our children into the ground, small hands and feet buried 6 feet deep into the earth of the world that failed them. Okay. Kohberger wrote, "As I read the poem, I thought, whatever the solution, I pray we consider the children before the gun." Public records say that Kohberger's father is Michael Kohberger. Mary Ann Kohberger of the town of Effort also wrote a letter to the editor that read, "I would like to respond to the general misconception often represented on this page that all Democrats support abortion rights. I do not personally support abortion and by all means do not support the death penalty." So, sounds like she won't support her son getting the death penalty. Well, Idaho is a death penalty state. They've got the death penalty, and considering your son is accused of unaliving 4 college students, I think that's on the table. So, I'll have to see that one. The New York Post reported that Kohberger's former aunt, who wanted to remain anonymous, told the newspaper that Kohberger worried his family with his bizarre eating habits. She described what the Post called Kohberger's dietary restrictions as very, very weird. It was above and beyond being vegan, the aunt told the Post, saying his aunt and uncle had to buy new pots and pans because he would not eat from anything that had ever had meat cooked in them. He seemed very OCD. Now, I'm a vegan, which now I'm more of a, more vegetarian, just plant-based. I do not eat meat. I haven't eaten meat in many, many years. However, as long as something is clean and sterile and clean, like I said, if you clean a pot out, you wash it and it's all clean, I don't have a problem cooking in that pan. I've never lived with another vegan or vegetarian, so we always share pots and pans and what have you. Obviously, if it's clean, you use it. Period. A neighbor told WPVI that police and FBI raided the suspect's parents' home around 1 a.m. She said they towed away a vehicle matching the white Elantra for which Idaho authorities had been searching, according to WPVI reporter Chad Perdelli. Neighbors tell Action News she'd seen Idaho unaliving suspect Bryan Kohberger going in and out of parents' Poconos home in recent weeks, Perdelli wrote on Twitter. Looks like this is an exclusive, so this is a tweet. Exclusive neighbor of Idaho unalive suspect Bryan Kohberger tells Action News police and FBI raided the suspect's parents' home around 1 a.m. They towed away a vehicle matching the white Elantra for which Idaho authorities had been searching. So this looks like that's the parents' home. It's a little far away, but it looks like a nice house. And from what I understand, the Poconos is not a cheap area to live in. Of course, nowhere's cheap anymore. According to public records obtained by Heavy, Kohberger is registered to vote as Libertarian in Pennsylvania. When he graduated from DeSales University with a psychology degree, Kohberger listed a quote from Aristotle, his favorite memory or quote, which we just read. Again, it's the mask of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. A commencement video posted to YouTube by the Central Valley, Pennsylvania University says. In a press release posted to their Facebook page, Moscow police announced they would hold the press conference at 206 East 3rd Street of Moscow City Hall. So that was the presser we just saw. They're just talking about the presser. Right. Here's the cause and manner of deaths if you want to check that out up there. And it's mentioning the GoFundMe for the families, which we've discussed before if you want to support those. Heavy has not found any obvious social media accounts for Kohberger. Yeah, I looked, I couldn't find any either. Besides that Instagram that he took down, but there is a screenshot of it, and I will share that here. I will actually post it right here. Let's see. Just going over the events of November 12th to 13th. Okay, number 3. Kohberger studied psychology at a Pennsylvania community college and researched the emotions and psychological traits of criminals while in grad school. So this is that weird research participation study that he seemed to want to get criminals involved in. Very strange, in my opinion. And if you go into the research study, it has really the strangest questions here. Yeah, the research has now been deleted. But you can check it out up here. They do have it linked. I have the screenshots, but since they have it up here, I'm just going to post the link and y'all can check it out there. The questions in the survey dig into whether a person committed their first crime when they were alone, whether they were employed, whether they were under the influence of drugs and alcohol, and more. Other questions in the survey include, how was your life right before the crime occurred? And did you prepare for the crime before leaving your home? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this point. And how did you travel to and enter the location that the crime occurred? And after arriving, what steps did you take prior to locating the victim or target? Please detail your thoughts and feelings. I don't know, Brian, were you trying to get ideas for your crime? Because that's some odd questions if you ask me. Very, very suspicious. All right, he said he earned his bachelor's degree in 2020 and his master's in 2022. As a Catholic, Sicilian community, we are devastated by the senseless tragedy. The university statement to the Daily Beast read, Heavy has reached out to the university for comment. So that would have been the DeSales University, which is where he did that weird research study. And there's some more information about the research study there. and they do note here, Kohberger has no criminal history in Washington and Idaho states, according to the Idaho Statesman, other than a minor traffic violation. And I believe that's the seatbelt violation that we've all uncovered. Number 4, Kohberger previously worked in security for a Pennsylvania school district. Kohberger once worked in part-time security for the Pleasant Valley School District in Pennsylvania, according to a 2021 story in the Times News. The Times News story reported that another person had replaced him, saying the new hire was moving from casual security to part-time security, replacing Bryan Kohberger. The students' Instagram pages show they were close friends. So let's see. Looks like they're talking about some of Maddie's Instagram posts here. And again, he followed them on Instagram, which is very crazy. Considering that, as far as we know, that he didn't know these girls. All right, and number 5. In high school, Kohberger became aggressive and thinner than a rail, a former classmate said. Nick McLuhan, who knew Kohberger in high school, told Daily Beast the suspect was down to earth but became thinner than a rail and aggressive his senior year after being overweight the year before. He was taking boxing classes, McClone told the Beast, saying he always wanted to fight somebody. He took criminal justice courses because he was thinking of becoming a police officer, McClone told the publication. Law enforcement sources told NBC News that a Hyundai Elantra was taken away from the person's home in Pennsylvania on Friday. So they got his car. They're not completely admitting to that's the car, but that's the car. Kohberger is listed on meritpages.com as being a graduate of Northampton Community College, class of 2018, which we read about. He was studying liberal arts psychology. And that's pretty much their facts there, which I found pretty interesting as well. So, yeah, this guy, I'm getting Dahmer vibes, and he's definitely, like I said, he seemed to definitely be interested in all this because he was studying psychology, he was studying criminology, and he wanted to know about the mind of a criminal, which, I mean, that's what they do, but that survey is really strange to me, for sure. And I don't know. I mean, this guy is, in my opinion, I don't know, that look. And some of the pictures, he doesn't even look 28. He looks older than 28 to me. But very strange guy from just the first impressions. And so we'll see what happens in the coming days. Obviously, after the new year, they'll have more info forthcoming on this one. So I'm wondering what Angela, our tarot card internet sleuth, is thinking today. I don't think I'm going to check out her TikTok because, to be honest with you, I don't really care that much about her opinions. But I'm thinking this weekend she really needs to figure a way out of that lawsuit because, maybe she needs to get down on, and really apologize and make some huge apologies and what have you on her TikTok and get rid of those tarot cards because they're not doing her any good. I mean, I think tarot cards, personally, I'm not into the tarot cards, psychology, all that psychic stuff. I don't believe in it at all. But she definitely has, none of that stuff worked for her. And so she's pretty much ruining her own life on her own accord. For what? Celebrity? For views and follows on TikTok? I mean, I don't know what her point is of all that, and in my opinion, she's not an internet sleuth. She's just a bit cray, but I don't know. I mean, if she's smart, she definitely will try to grovel and apologize and do whatever she can through her legal means and what have you. But I doubt that's going to happen. She doesn't seem like the type to me. But you never know. She could surprise you. Maybe she needs to go back out and reinvest in something different than some tarot cards. Maybe she needs to get some notebooks and do some old-fashioned internet research and hit the Google. Forget those cards. They're worthless and they just cause you trouble, hon. So, what do you guys think of Bryan Kohberger in this whole case? Again, I think it's a blessing to the families that the suspect has been caught, and it's never going to get completely better, obviously, for this family for a while. It's going to be quite the road for them. But and I believe that this evening is Maddie and Kaylee's memorial service. So it's kind of bittersweet that it's today and the day they caught him. So I'm sure that's comforting to them, even though they got a long road ahead of them. But my condolences continue to go out to all these families and all their friends right now, and hopefully they can get some healing in the coming days, and hopefully they'll be trusting the law enforcement, to continue to do the good work that they have been doing, and we'll see what happens in January. So, all right, guys. So thank you for checking out today's video. I'll probably do one more video tomorrow before the end of the year. But I do appreciate you coming by and checking out the channel. If you hit that like button on the way out, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love it if you would. Just hit that button and you'll be subscribed and hit the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. All right, y'all have a great rest of the day and evening. And most of all, stay safe.